Colin Gillespie. I'm Global Head of Loss Prevention at NorthStandard. We've also got Jordan Gross from Orca AI, Torsten Pedersen from C-SPAN, and special guest, Captain Mark Arundella, who is a seafarer who's actually used Orca AI in action. Come to the next slide, please, Celise. That's us. Roddy, unfortunately, I don't know if he's had a technical failure. Okay, it's going to be a bit odd because I'm going to be asking myself questions, but anyway, without further ado, the first question to me is why, as a P&I club, are we interested in using technology at this current time? And I would say that really it's about two issues. There is the technology issue. So next slide, please, Celise. And technology is really advancing at the minute quickly. And the enablers of the sort of tech revolution that we're seeing at sea are the onboard Internet of Things, all the sensors that are on board the ship, and the data that can be extracted from those sensors to help the crew run the ship better and help the shore operate the ship better. So, you know, it's becoming very common, almost ubiquitous for shipping companies to be mining that data to help them do things better. Allied with that is the reduced cost of satellite comms. So Starlink in particular is really pushing down the cost of the comms, and that means it's easier to communicate to everybody in the ship because it's cheaper and it actually becomes effective to do so. And the third element of that is that all the data that we're extracting from the ship can be interrogated by machine learning. Machine learning is relatively mature, and that machine learning can really make sense of lots and lots and lots of data that otherwise would be too difficult for individuals, people to do. So that's one perspective. That the tech seems to be right. The enablers are right. It's the right time. The second thing is the safety perspective, which is the next slide. And what I've seen for many years working in loss prevention is that we have different types of stubbornly persistent claim. And we've all worked to provide training materials, provide shore-based training, provide computer-based training to the bridge team to try and reduce incidents that result from poor navigational decisions, like collisions and like groundings. But these things are still there. They're still very disruptive to operations and very, very costly. And of course, there's reputational damage to come along with it. So from the sort of club's perspective, we think that the time is right to leverage technology to actually assist the people doing the job to be able to make better decisions. That's really the club's perspective on that. And I think the two words for me that sum up why we're getting behind Orca are situational awareness. Orca can improve situational awareness on board for the bridge team. And if situational awareness is improved, decision making will be improved and we will get better navigational results. I think that's it from my perspective. I think next we'll go to Jordan, and Jordan will tell you a bit about Orca AI itself and the technology.
So hi everyone. First of all, Colin, I think you're doing a great job as a moderator and also as a speaker. So nice, comeback. Pleasure to have you all here. I prepared a short presentation to a little bit give an overview about Orca, about the company, and about the product. So let me just share the screen. So in a nutshell, Orca AI is coming here to increase automation to help operating ships in a whole new level. We established the company in 2018, me and my co-founder, Dor. We actually met 15 years ago. We served together in the Navy. We have also, after that, experience of over a decade working in tech companies, so we know how to utilize technology very well. Since the company established, we grew quite a lot. We have today over 1,000 vessels in order book and installed. And we're constantly collecting data. We have today one of the biggest data sets in the marine domain of 40 million nautical miles of data that's constantly growing. Why it's important? Because the data is fueling the models, it's creating actionable insights to the customers, and it's creating better capabilities. We're also involved in 2 autonomous ship projects, one in Japan and also one in Europe, to basically pioneer and build the future of autonomous shipping, autonomous capabilities. When we started the company, we saw a pretty big opportunity to create impact in shipping. So as you know, shipping is the backbone of global supply chain. It's a very important industry. That said, it's operating in a very conservative way, where other industries which are less important started to adopt technology and move forward, so shipping in a way stayed behind. And if you think about the reason, inherent reason for that, and the reason is that ships, which is the main asset, they operate in isolated locations, remote locations, usually with either no connectivity or limited connectivity. And this creates a situation where to deploy new technology on board is very costly, and you have no visibility to the real world. And then over time, what happens is that you start having a lot of operational issues, from safety events, for example, from shortage in crewing, from increasing costs, fuel efficiency, emissions. And what we understood is that ships will start being connected to the cloud. And what we see now with Starlink, for example, which is a complete game changer, is that all of a sudden you have connectivity. The cost of deploying technology on board is going down. You can start uploading data from the ships. You can deploy advanced AI technology on the ships to increase automation, to improve the operation on board. And what combines all of that is also the change in mindset for the crew. You have new generation of crew, everyone using smartphones, and they are more open to adopt new technology and utilize it to improve their operation and their capabilities on board the vessel and also on shore. So this is where Orca comes in. We're utilizing technology and connectivity to provide to the industry an operational platform with semi-autonomous capabilities. In the heart of the platform is the seapod. The seapod is a combination of cameras, day cameras and thermal cameras powered by AI algorithms. The seapod is installed on the vessel and is acting as another crew member, another watchkeeper on board the vessel. And the seapod is actually serving 2 types of users. It's serving the crew on board in real time, where it's actually providing insights, information, and alerts and early warnings to the crew, so they can take early actions to improve their operation, to reduce their workload. And then throughout the voyage, we're also collecting the data and then providing full visibility to the fleet managers who are sitting remotely in a short location through a web application through the fleet view. So I will drill down a little bit and show how it works in action. So Orca, the seapod on board a vessel, is actually designed to help the crew in the most, I would say, complicated types of situations. So for example, sailing in low visibility, foggy situations, like here what you see in the English Channel. So you can see the difference between line of sight, what you see with your eyes, to how it looks with the Orca solution, with the seapod, using thermal cameras, working on heat signature, can see actually through foggy situations. With AI in the back end, it becomes a very powerful tool, detecting the targets, providing alerts, so the crew will be able to take early actions. It improves significantly the situational awareness in this type of situations. Another use case for that is night. So for example, night congested areas, sailing in China, Shanghai area, where you have a lot of fishing vessels. They many times don't have AIS, sometimes low radar signature. Many times when you're sailing towards the land, you have lights coming from the land, create disorientation with the lights of the ships. And basically with Orca, you get much better visibility. It becomes a game changer tool to navigate in those type of conditions. It improves the capability of the crew to take early actions and safe actions in those type of areas when you get full visibility and alerting on those type of incidents. Going to the other side of the platform, the fleet view. The fleet view purpose is to provide full visibility and to enable the shore side and the crew to work together side by side and to be able to witness and to be able to get a tool, a cost-effective tool to enforce the company policy, to make sure that the ships are being operated, navigated in the right way, to identify gaps in the operation beforehand, and to be able to be proactive on that as early on. So what do you see here? This is the web application that the operation team can actually access from any computer. In the heart of it, you can see the fleet safety score that is being calculated by the number of events and type of events. The purpose is to be able to drill down and see where are the gaps, which ships, for example, have a lower safety score, which ships have a higher safety score, and to identify that so you can actually drill down to specific events with severity to identify trends as well. So what is an event? Let's see. An event can be, for example, a close encounter between two vessels. So this is the event exploration page where you can filter different type of events. Once you're choosing an event and you're pressing on the event, you get into the event exploration page. In the event exploration page, you can actually see in a very granular view, two types of views. One is the map, nautical map, and then also the video. You can play back exactly what happened. For example, here in this specific situation, you have a crossing event between one vessel to a passenger ship. So the crossing event is happening in the English Channel, and both of the vessels had to take last-minute maneuver to avoid an incident. So you can play back the event very quickly. So we see they got very close to one another, only a minimum distance of 0.3 nautical miles. Both vessels are full speed ahead, 19 knots, and the other vessel is a passenger ship. And then also you get the full evidence of this specific event. So you can get the visual information, see exactly how what happened on board the vessel, in the bridge, when this specific event happened. Now they're looking at the starboard camera, moving to center camera, and basically get witness and understand exactly what happened there. We see actually tangible impact on our customers. We see that customers that using Orca and roll it across the fleet actually improve their KPIs. So we took, for example, the impact of, we have multiple vessels today, which are a part of the NorthStandard member vessels. And we did a study on that. We wanted to see over time how it actually impact the operation. So you can see that there is a significant decrease in number of close encounter events over time. So you can see this is 2023, 116 vessels. And over time, you see the number of close encounter events decreases, and you can see actually the trend. This decreases of close encounter events, meaning that you have less extreme situations, less extreme maneuvers, and less unnecessary maneuvers, which is actually impacting directly the fuel consumptions and also the emission. So we can see also the reduction in the emission as well. Just to finish up, I would like to show you a quick video of one of our customers, Marubeni, and how they're using it on one of their vessels.
When me and my crew get on board the vessel, our responsibility is shipping the cargo and bringing the vessel to its destination safely and efficiently. I'm Captain Mark Irvin Arandela. I'm in the sea service for 14 years, 1 year of it as a master. The biggest challenge in navigating the vessel is navigating through the congested waters, especially during the time of darkness. And I need to put additional crew to serve as a lookout. Orca AI serves as 3 additional lookouts, which enables us to lessen the manpower needed in the bridge, helps me to identify the targets, and give me more awareness of the situation around me. The capability which I love the most are the thermal mode. During the times of darkness, dense fog, and bad weather, the thermal cameras are very useful. For example, during our last approach in the Panama Canal at the break of dawn, Orca AI helps us understand and be aware of the situations, identifying targets which are moving and at anchor, helping us making the right decisions at the right time, avoiding the risk of collisions and any marine accidents. Orca AI provides a better understanding and awareness of the situation around us. It eliminates unnecessary maneuvers, making the voyage time more efficient, save fuel, and reduce CO2 emissions. A key point for a safer and efficient voyage.
Thank you very much, Jordan. That was very, very interesting and insightful as to how the product works. And it's great to have Captain Mark, the star of that video, with us today to talk a bit more about using this system. Captain, in terms of using the system, did you have any comments on its usability and how easy it is for the crew to get used to and use? You're muted, Captain. No, you're still on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Colin. And thank you all for having me here. And about your question, in my opinion, the system is very useful, user-friendly. It only requires the basic trainings to the users, such as the understanding of the icons and extracting the recordings on board. But regarding the personal usage, it's not too complicated compared to other bridge equipments. So it's very, we can use it efficiently.
Great. And when you were using the system, did you consider that it gave you more thinking time? You know, was that the key thing around the situational awareness piece? Was it thinking time for you, or thinking time for the other watchkeeping officers?
Yeah, compared to the maneuvers without using the Orca AI, I can set an example like without the Orca AI system, I usually make the minimum 2 minutes decision. But with the system, with the Orca AI, the 2 minutes decision can be lessened in a couple of seconds to make the final decision if we need to deviate from the course to have a safer maneuver to avoid collisions and other safety hazards.
Okay, and one more sort of question from a sort of mariner technical perspective. How much maintenance does the sea pod require? How often do you have to clean the salt off the optical technology?
Oh, I really love the system about the technical matters. It greatly improves the safety of navigation and the efficiency of the voyage. And also, it helps me explain very well and make our shore managers have a better understanding of why we need to deviate from our original course, because most of the time, the voyage must be the shorter, and the more efficient it is, the more effective it is.
Okay, thanks very much, Captain Mark. We'll move on now to Torsten. from C-SPAN, and Torsten's going to talk a bit about C-SPAN's perspective on the technology and how they see it improving things for them. Torsten.
Thank you, Colin, and I hope you can see the presentation now.
It's coming. We can see it.
In presentation mode and everything?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
It's great.
I'd like to take a step back and say, okay, we are here focused on Orca AI, which C-SPAN is also a user of. But maybe just take it back one step and saying, so how did we start our digitalization path, and what considerations was it that we went through? As I probably don't have to educate the audience about here, we didn't go down, and you shouldn't go down the route of digitalization or digital transformation just to do it. What we did was we said, okay, what are the business objectives we wanted to achieve, and how could digital technology assist and facilitate that? What we wanted to do was we wanted to leverage our unique market position where we are neutral, and where we are, you could say, working with everybody, but where we still have a size and a scale that means that for digital technologies, we could scale them fast and get the benefits. On top of that, we wanted to emphasize on our core strategy of being operational excellence. So anything had to improve safety, reliability, and cost. And we wanted to use digital technology to find new ways of engaging with our customers and providing more value. When we have a size as we have, which will be close to 200 vessels at the end of the year, there are certainly benchmarking and other things that can take place across a vast fleet, and that will provide new insights that's hopefully valuable to our customers. And all of that came then back to the obviously logical conclusion that the core data that we need for all of this comes from our fleet. And as it comes from our fleet, we also start needing to treat our fleet as it was an office anywhere. Each vessel should be an office anywhere else, because besides delivering services and transport of containers to our customers, we also now need the fleet to provide insights through data. And if you don't mind, I will just stop sharing this one, and then jump to another one here. Can you see? Nope. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
And I'll just in presentation mode. In presentation mode now?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, when we then said, okay, a vessel is an office, there were four that meant that whatever a vessel was offline, we should treat it with the same urgency as if our entire head office was down. At the same time, we should also treat cybersecurity situation the same on a vessel as we would in an office. In the past, it has been relatively easy to say, well, we can just unplug, and then as we unplug, then the vessel will be fine because it can still run on core systems and analog without being constantly connected to a cloud solution somewhere. What we found as we move in that path is, as most of you will probably have realized as well, that when we linked vessels up and allowed deployment of software upgrades, etc., through internet, we actually reduced the cybersecurity risk because the highest cybersecurity risks we've had were actually through upgrades via USB, which we have now completely decommissioned around on our vessels. We also had to set our IT department up differently, so we have a follow the sun principle where we have IT support teams sitting across the world. So at any given stage, you don't need to call a hotline. There will be someone dealing with instances and assistance on a real-time basis. Obviously, as we go online in a larger extent and have vessels constantly linked up, deployment of various systems and safety systems and navigation aids become a very viable alternative to what we have done, or a very viable addition to what we have done in the past. And finally, we realized that with the right solution, we could actually both improve the connectivity, but also lower the operating cost of a single vessel. And Jarden mentioned, Colin mentioned in the beginning, Starlink as probably the moment where a lot of our plans moved from lying in the drawer to becoming viable solutions. Our fleet is now entirely, bar 2 that will come online within the next week, then our fleet will be entirely linked up to Starlink. So we have better connectivity and much faster speeds. I have to say, initially, where we've seen a lot of this bandwidth being used has been on Netflix Live and live sports, but obviously from an operating perspective, we are now able to use solutions around with sensors and Internet of Things that we weren't able to use before, and we've just started this journey, because what that meant was that we could now start testing in real time a lot of different solutions. And for the past couple of years, we have been testing, amongst others, on the navigational safety side, we have been testing Orca. Started the discussion with Jarden and his team about 3 years ago. COVID got in the middle of things and made it difficult to deploy on the vessels. But we now start having data and results to look at for the past 2 years. These are not as impressive numbers as Jarden had, because we obviously haven't deployed Orca on our full fleet yet, but we are likely to do so. The way it has been set up is basically linked directly to our rules of engagement in our safety management system. What is the minimum distance we will allow in congested waters and in open waters? And as you can see, a great number of events where things have been inside these limits that we set ourselves have been recorded. As we moved into Orca and said, yes, it's obviously, and it seems to be a navigational assistance. What we can also say is that we can confirm what has been heard from the other speakers. It has been adopted really well by our crew on the vessels where we have put it on. We started off putting it on vessels where we knew we had digitally savvy crew, and digitally savvy officers, but we've now spread it out to a random population, and everywhere it has been greeted warmly, and because as our captain said, it is very, very logical and very, very simple to use. So what did we get out of it? One thing is when we start deploying this, end of the day, it's a bit, we need to have we have a principle that we need to have a business case for these things. We need to see, well, okay, you can always argue that safety has no price on it, and that is correct, but that suddenly that gives no boundaries. And when we have to deploy things and spend have capital expenses on deploying things and operating expenses on a fleet of 200 vessels, we need to have an idea that this will, if nothing else, then prevent one navigational incident or give us other benefits. And confirming some of the numbers that Jarden showed, what we have seen is that the minimum distance for a couple of our vessels that we have trialed this on for the longest time, the minimum distance to any event have actually in open waters have actually increased. There's a lot more foresight in the way that our captains maneuver their vessels, and the number of events and instances where we've had to make a smaller or larger deviation have decreased significantly, similar to what Jarden showed for the Orca deployed fleet at large. For our fleet, on average, any deviation has taken 20 to 40 minutes. And that is, for us, either increased fuel consumption until the vessel is back on the planned route, or it is, if not a massive fuel consumption, then we subsequently need to speed up to keep schedule. And in both cases, any deviation has led to higher fuel consumptions, meaning obviously the logical step that removing deviations we have seen directly have saved fuel. So far, it's a bit too early to say with data, but what we can see that for these vessels where we have a long track record, pre and post Orca, our fuel consumption has reduced by about $100,000 to $150,000 per year. And suddenly you get then not just a safety approach, which we can all agree is ultimately the most important part. You don't just get a safety benefit, but you can actually get a cost benefit as well. So for us, so far, using Orca as part of our digital technology has been a little bit digital technology and digital transformation of our fleet. That has been a little bit like having our cake and eating it too. So that's it for me, and I will hand back to whoever is now the moderator here.
I think Roddy can take it from here. I have to step into his shoes.
Yes, apologies to everybody for technical gremlins. Better late than never. Thanks, gentlemen. Torsten, really interesting. I think your point about linking how Orca links into your safety management system and how you're really making the business case beyond just safety. Reducing fuel thirsty deviations and thereby having a really positive impact on operating expenses. I think that's a very big benefit. So
don't forget it's more sustainable also, Roddy. Less fuel is more sustainable. It's not
absolutely just yeah, totally true. We all want that. Less emissions, more sustainability. the industry is going in that direction. So again, a huge benefit. So viewers, that completes the formal part of the webinar. Now we'll move on to the Q&A. I see we have some questions in the chat already.
Maybe Roddy, one final part that I missed, because part of making a business case when it involves safety is obviously the tricky part is that you're trying to model the absence of anything. You're modeling, well, will this not happen in the future? And that always becomes tricky unless you have a very, very big data set to do it on. And that's why for us, when we start adding direct operational savings, suddenly that modeling becomes a lot simpler.
Yeah, tremendous. Yeah, before the Q&A, I have a few kind of questions of my own just to get the ball rolling. Colin, I mean, let's go to you first. I mean, I understand obviously there are many close encounters, near misses that we never get to hear about in the news because they don't result in incidents. I mean, as apropos what Torsten just said. So, I mean, how much do actual collisions cost the NorthStandard Club overall?
A lot. So, for instance, the last 5 years, we've had more than 30 collisions costing more than $1 million. Some of them well in excess of $1 million. So the collisions are very costly. Even minor collisions tend to be quite costly, and serious collisions can be very, very costly. So it's been costing the club a lot of money to deal with collisions. And I think for me, it's the number of collisions is getting slightly less, probably linked to speed reduction over the last few years, again linked to sustainability, but they're not going away. So anything that can help the bridge watchkeepers make sense of what they're seeing out the window and help them come to the right decisions can only lead to a reduction over time in collisions. And for the club, that means claims. For the operators, it means better operations, and for the seafarers, far less stress. So it really does represent a win for all the potential user groups.
Yeah, great. Now I'm just picking up on that theme of claims. If data from the Orca AI platform is used in a claim, I mean, could that potentially prejudice a member's position?
It's just like any other navigation aid, Roddy. When we're assessing the apportionment of blame in a collision, we will look at all available evidence, and Orca AI will just be another piece of evidence. And you have to look at it both ways. If it is clearly pointing to the ship with Orca AI doing the wrong thing, the club needs to know that because it'll change our negotiating stance and how we handle the claim. Yeah. But in these things with VDR and all the other things available, AIS tracking, usually we get a pretty clear picture anyway of what's going on. So in terms of Orca being something that's definitely going to tilt the dial one way or the other, it's not really that much different to the current situation.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously, you've explained quite clearly, the value of using the Orca AI platform in terms of loss prevention. So, what are you offering members in terms of budget?
Well, we've done a very attractive deal with Orca. I don't want to go into details with so many people here, but the deal is very attractive, and it's all about making it accessible so that our members can test it and see what it means for them and for their operation, and if it's delivering on the safety front and delivering on the operational efficiencies front, then I think it's potentially very attractive for our members. The budget is limited. We don't have a massive budget, but there's enough there to enable a good subset of our members to make a start. Yeah,
great. Thanks for those insights. Yarden, moving on to you. shipping is, as we all know, quite a traditional industry. How do you, I mean, at Orca, how do you get conservative users, to implement and maximize the opportunities of this new type of technology?
Thank you, Roddy. One of the backbone and assumptions and how we build Orca from the start is to create a very easy to use interface, right? To create a tool for the seafarers so they can use it easily, they can understand it easily, and the user interface doesn't require so special training. So the backend can be very complex, right? The algorithms in the backend should be complex and they're calculating many parameters in real time. But in the front, what the user sees is very easy to understand, doesn't require a lot of training. And on top of that, we also, when we roll out Orca, we're providing all the training materials and making sure that they know how to utilize the product. We're also monitoring how they're using it. So part of Orca is that, the unique part of it is that Orca is actually connected. So we can actually monitor how they're using it. And based on these learnings, we can improve the user interface over time and making it even simpler and understand better how the user perceive it and how to utilize it in certain conditions.
In the sense of a constant feedback loop, self-improvement,
Yes.
in a sense, absolutely. Okay, great, thanks. You mentioned, or at least I hope you did, that Orca AI obviously can help to reduce operational emissions, which is great for sustainability. And can you explain a bit more how?
Yes. So the concept is pretty simple, right? So like we're driving our cars, if I'm speeding a lot, braking a lot, changing the engine torque a lot, I will actually consume more fuel and I will pollute and create a pollution. So with ships, it's actually more extreme than that because you have the drag from the water. They're huge. The engines are bigger, so you need a lot of power in order to retain back to the course, in order to retain back to the speed, in order to get to the right time to the destination. So meaning that if you have more extreme maneuvers, if you're changing the speed, if you're changing the course, it will impact directly on the fuel consumption and emissions. So if you can reduce that, right, reducing the extreme speed drops, extreme maneuvers, eliminate some of them, then you impacting the fuel consumption and emissions. So we looked at our data, and it's very, very interesting. We looked at our data on similar type of voyages, similar type of ships, in similar time of the years, and you can see a pretty big difference in how they're consuming the fuel and how much they're polluting. And the main driver for that is actually the crew behavior, how they're operating the ship. And this is something that we actually focus on to improve, not just the safety, but there is a big correlation between safety and also efficiency of the vessel.
Great. Yeah, thanks. You told me the other day that the Orca AI platform is approved by regulatory bodies. But I wonder, can the data collected by the platform be used, for example, in accident investigations?
Yes. So the data that is collected capturing many type of events, also events that like near misses, but also events that happen. And basically the data that is collected is not just the visual information, but also the sensory information. And you can actually show it on a map. So in a real-time event, even in a real-time event, the data is being captured and being collected to the cloud. So actually the office remotely can witness very quickly. If he wants to turn it over to evidence, it can happen. Examples we had, for example, a vessel that entered the port and it was accused that it was hitting the jetty or created damage to the jetty. And actually the data from Orca showed that before the approach, there was already a damage there. So it didn't go to court, but it helped between the port authority and between the owner to end the conflict here. So yes, we have those type of events. We had another situation also in China, something similar to that. So you can use it.
Great. I mean, you mentioned the word conflict there, so I was just going to change the subject a bit. I mean, obviously, with increased frequency of the Houthi drone attacks, you know, that's creating a very challenging environment, security environment for ships passing through the Red Sea. That's a huge risk to seafarers, to maritime trade, for unfriendly forces or unfriendly parties. Does Orca have a solution for this kind of situation?
So a solution for security purposes, either detection of drones. So Orca can prevent, right? But we can create an early detection for security purposes as well. So security against drones, against surface ships, small ones, skiffs that can come at night. So we're working with a few customers actually on a solution for that to provide early warnings in those type of areas, either piracy or terrorism. So yes, we're working on that, and basically we have all the data pipeline in place. So when we want to build a new model that can actually detect this type of situation, we have all the building blocks in terms of the technology in order to do it very quickly and very efficiently.
I mean, for example, on drones, I mean, what's the kind of distance you can spot a drone, or the platform can identify?
Depends on the size, right? But I would say you can give about 30 seconds warning to the crew, so at least the crew can actually take cover in those type of situations. This is what we can do today. And if you actually improving or having better and more expensive type of cameras, you can increase the ranges.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks, Yarden. Moving on to you, Torsten. What impact do you, I mean, you've talked a little bit about it already, but what impact do you see that AI and automation tools in general can have on the on the daily crew operations? I mean, thinking about kind of reducing workload, improving their capabilities and decision making.
I think that's almost only ends at where our imagination ends. Clearly, the first steps are one as we've started is to get the digital foundation in place. Now we're talking Orca AI. There's sort of immediate benefits to be seen in terms of navigation, in terms of for us also cost savings. But it's only your imagination that sets the boundaries for this. The next part is adoption with the crew. We have been fortunate and so far that our crew has happily adopted a lot of the initiatives we started out on. But end of the day, it's if you present something that benefits the safety or workload of the seafarer, then I would guess that 99.9% of them would be very, very pleased with that. If you're doing the opposite, you may also be doing something wrong. So if you're making it less safe and more labor intensive, then probably you've got your wires mixed up. So I think there will be more and more coming. We talk about it, AI in shipping. I think Orca is probably one of the first where we really see some tangible potential benefits from it. But there will be more coming, no doubt.
Yeah, so happy seafarers, that's good for your bottom line, and their well-being is obviously extremely important. I mean, if you think about kind of safety culture, I mean, that's a very prevalent issue. How do you see that kind of closing the gap between ship and shore, for example, can strengthen safety culture?
You need to have you can throw as many digital solutions on board as you want. If you don't have a strong safety culture from start, then it's not going to work. Then it's just going to be another warning or another system that's being ignored. The safety culture has to be there. Once the safety culture is there, then you've built up a safety culture in your company, then these solutions will be adopted automatically because everybody can see that they help safety. It's if you refuse to tighten the seatbelt in your car, then putting 2 seatbelts in doesn't really matter. But if you know that it's a good idea to tighten your seatbelt before you drive, then you'll be very happy to have a strong seatbelt, and that becomes a little bit the same here. Build the safety culture, and then these solutions will be adopted happily. And actually, you'll sometimes see crew. We're starting to see crew sort of argue to have different solutions that they have seen elsewhere, and not just for navigational assistance, but for other things.
And do you see long-term partnerships as a key to success in this kind of safety area?
Yes, I think actually the discussion is always that back to the business case. How do I get benefits out of it that matches what I have to spend? It's always a matter of less. Ultimately, if you have less accidents or incidents, your insurance premium will go down. That's a medium long-term play, and I can only applaud, not just because of my honored guest speakers here, but I can only applaud that the underwriting community starts looking at how we can long-term and be a real partner in how can we long-term improve the number of or reduce the number of incidents. I think that is needed. It's easy to have a few first movers come along, but if we need the shipping community at large, we need to have make it attractive to get started on it.
Sure. I mean, I think you pointed out before that kind of harm reduction is hard to measure. But are there any other ways that you can measure kind of ROI when implementing tools like Orca and others?
No, but we're trying not to, while we are disciplined in how we spend our money, we are trying not to overcomplicate it and sort of have derivative solutions and opportunities. We'll say ultimately what's the likelihood for less serious incidents. What are the cost savings potentially, and then we make our case based on that.
Sure, great. Thanks, Torsten. Captain Arundel, I have a question for you. You'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah, wonderful. Captain, I mean, quite a curious question. If the decision was taken to take Orca away from your vessel or vessels, I mean, how would you feel about that? What would be your reaction?
Thank you, Roddy. Personally, I would feel a little bit of regret because it literally put an additional awareness and more safer maneuvers and efficiency of the voyage. I may have to tell my owners to reconsider things before they do that.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not sure if you said before, but I mean, could you just reiterate what you think of and what do you most like about the platform?
Well, the things that I love the most about the system is I have 2 notable features of the system which I love the most. Firstly is the thermal camera, which enables us to maneuver the vessels in the most difficult situations, especially in the restricted visibility around the areas. The monitor of the system can see what our bare eyes couldn't see, thus enabling me to have more situational awareness, and resulting to unnecessary maneuvers being eliminated. And it will definitely, if like what Yarden says, it's like a car. So if you reduce speed like about 5 minutes, it will reduce the voyage time for almost 20 to 30 minutes. So we might be able to eliminate that reducing speed if we have a better decisions using the Orca AI system.
Yeah, great. And just one last question. I mean, just to elaborate a bit on, I mean, how do you feel that using Orca AI every day has kind of changed the dynamics between yourselves on the boat and your shore office and fleet managers?
It improves my relation to shore managers in a way that they see things more clearly. Before the installation of the Orca AI, they usually ask why we deviate from our original course because of fuel efficiency and ship's performance. And now, as they see through the camera and through the data that they get in the Orca AI system, they have a better understanding why we need to deviate, and because of the congestions and the safety hazards around the area.
Great. And you also kind of mentioned that, you know, when you're in quite complex navigational situations in congested waters, for example, or low visibility in port approaches, etc. I mean, the kind of user friendliness of the setup in regard to kind of Orca AI. I mean, I mean, in terms of kind of intuitive use, I mean, are you're happy with that kind of angle?
About the usage and the interface of the system, it's very convenient, unlike the other complex equipments on board. As Torsten says, we can put a lot of tools in the bridge so as to help us navigate the vessel more efficiently. But Orca AI system is self-explanatory, has a self-explanatory functions, which it's only like a read and write, and you can easily use the system in conjunction with other navigational tools, and helps you make the decisions in a quicker manner.
Brilliant. Thanks, Captain Arandella. Okay, gentlemen, you know, we've had a great insightful overview of Orca AI from different perspectives, from the creator, Yarden, from an insurer, Colin, from a ship owning perspective, Torsten, and from you, the seafarer, Captain Arandella. So now we can move on to the questions from the floor. And I'll just take them on a first come, first serve basis. Sunit Das asks, from a legal position, does Orca AI supported decision making expect to defend the master or owner if, despite using vessel, meets with an unfortunate collision? Is there any precedence yet? I guess that's for you, Colin.
Well, I think the precedent yet is for Yarden, but I don't think there's been any. Have there been any, Yarden? Have you had any collisions with users' vessels?
No, we didn't had this type of situation.
Okay. The legal position is much as I explained earlier. Orca AI is a navigation aid, and the data and input from it will be used to ascertain the apportionment of blame in a collision case, and that might be supportive to the ship's decision, or it might be negative to the ship's decision. But in that respect, it's no real different to any other navigation aid.
Yeah, great, thanks. The next question, yes, it's kind of to do with the kind of spicy issue of data ownership. Does the data from the vessel belong to the owner or to Orca? And what about confidentiality? I guess, Yarden, that's for you.
Yeah, so the data is mutually owned by the owner, and Orca has limitations. We can use it internally to improve the models, and we can use it as long as it's aggregated, anonymized, outside of the company. We are using, in terms of security, we're using private clouds, keychains. We have ISO, so it's fully protected, the data, and we are saving the data in the cloud for the owner, but the owner can actually use it, download it, access to it through our platform, and use it as he wants.
Great.
Maybe Roddy, I can pitch in there, because this was one of the key factors that we also adopted Orca. Given that we are saying, well, data will make us a better company going forward, both operationally and for customer value propositions. We need to have full access to that data at all times, and that was the discussions we had with Jarden and his team, and we don't mind sharing it, but we need it's our data as such, and Orca can use it to for the purposes that we would all like, meaning improve the AI, improve the navigational assistance. The rest of it we can use it for.
Yeah, in the interests of sustainability for the whole industry. Just moving on to, I mean, another question here about a hot topic. Obviously, cybersecurity. We're all worried about that. Like the risk of GPS spoofing, which is currently very prevalent, especially in the north of Norway and the Baltic. No guessing who the culprits are. I mean, is there any risk with software being corrupted owing to cyber risk, Jarden?
But when you have connectivity, you always have cyber risk, a sudden risk. But we are using all the precautions and all the right tools and the standards today in order to make sure that it doesn't happen. First of all, the system itself is isolated, right? So it just reads data, analyzing data, and provide insights. But then also when it's connected to the cloud, so again, private keys, secured cloud, ISO penetration test that we did, closing all the gaps if there are. But today we're in a place where, we went through cybersecurity protocols with leading shipping companies, oil majors. So we're using the best standards and methods.
Great, thanks. Okay, so the next question. Yes, I think this is for C-SPAN, I guess for you, Torsten. What's the potential collaboration between Orca and SpaceX?
What the potential collaboration is, I guess it's more for Jarden, but let's put it this way. The way we look at it, SpaceX that's the foundation that allows us to leverage a plethora of different digital solutions. As I said, Orca is not the only one thing we're testing at the moment, or trialing and setting up. It's probably it was one of the first ones we got started on, because it can be done and it can work well without Starlink. And that was why we got started. Subsequently, we've then rolled Starlink out because it gives us a lot of other avenues to do things, and it's cheaper and better, and that's normally a win-win for us. And if there's any collaboration, I'm not sure. It's a little bit the platform and the tool you use the platform you use on the platform. I think that's how it should be seen.
Yeah, did you want to add something there?
No, I completely agree with Torsten. But eventually, this is the infrastructure to enable, and basically can enable many applications. For example, Netflix for the crew, as Torsten mentioned in the beginning, but also applications to improve operation, efficiency, safety, and I think we'll see more and more of those applications coming up to the industry and being adopted in the next couple of years.
But again, underlining, one of the reasons we went early with Orca was that we found that actually pre-Starlink, we've had a very fast adoption of Starlink, but pre-Starlink, it still worked really well, which sort of the credit to Jarden and his team of developers, because it worked also on less efficient networks.
Thank you.
Great. Jarden, again, this one is for you. How does Orca help with the processing of information? and how is it different from a sophisticated ARPA, apart from the thermal imaging?
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, the first question, basically Orca is starting, and this is how we also build it from the beginning, right? So we're navigators. We used to navigate. When you navigate at sea, you're starting from line of sight. You're looking outside, right? So this is why we're using the cameras. And we build algorithms that act as our brain to be able to detect targets, recognize them, analyzing the risk based on the distance and velocity, and based on the type of target. Once you do that in your head, then Orca is actually collecting also the data and fusing between other sensors, radar, AIS, and basically building the complete picture. So very similar to a navigator looking outside, going to the radar, going to the AIS, acquiring target, getting information, building the picture in his head. So the purpose is that once you're getting into congested areas and you have multiple targets, is to be able to build a picture very quickly, to provide information to the officer. So then he will actually can take actions early on, and he will understand the situation, or will be aware to the situation around the vessel in a higher way, in a higher probability.
Yeah, so the digital lookout is doing the work for you, basically.
It's not doing the work for you completely, but it's empowering you and reducing your workload and improving your capabilities. Yes, it's not replacing your work.
Yeah, and another question from Fletcher there. I guess, Colin, this is for you. Is NorthStandard offering a reduction in premiums if we install Orca on our vessels?
That's an easy one to answer. The answer is no. The reason is being that the premium is set based on record. It's retrospective looking, and it doesn't look forward. We're at the very beginning, I think, of a risk reduction process. The technologies like Orca AI can bring about, and by following the data of Orca AI anonymized, we will be able to start to get a picture over the coming years of how those fleets that use Orca AI behave, and almost benchmark them against normal behavior through the fleet. And what you should see then is that you will get, perhaps I would say, your premiums won't reduce, but the rate of increase will perhaps be less. So that benefit will become retrospectively. Who knows, in 5 years, we may get to a place where, owners who have Orca AI or similar systems on board that really do help them manage their ships to be much more claims avoiding, will really benefit from that in terms of the premiums that they're set. So we're at the start of a journey, Roddy. The old way of doing things has always been retrospective, premium set on record. But who knows, when we start getting the data and being able to use that data in the right ways, how premium setting might develop in 5 years, 10 years time. I'll add to that. There's another question I saw: is NorthStandard offering some money to owners? The answer to that basically is yes. We do have a limited budget. The board are supportive of this. So part of the deal we have with Orca involves us reducing the initial cost to owners.
Yeah, I mean, in your view, I mean, if you take a long-term perspective from the regulatory authorities, I mean, it might be that such systems are absolutely required in future. I mean, do you see that as a likely scenario?
Absolutely. I mean, I think as we start to use technology more and more, and vessels become connected everywhere very cheaply and easily, I think we'll see technologies like this becoming the standard. Everybody will have a technology that assists the bridge team, and it might be that the bridge team don't have to be present as much, and there's another operational saving there. The timeline for that is very uncertain, but I think that must be the direction of travel over the next 5, 10, certainly 20 years that we'll see that coming about.
Yeah, great. The next question is kind of interesting. can the office see what the bridge crew are seeing in real time? Maybe Torsten, you could take that one first.
Yeah, I can't, but my team can, and not that they use it. End of the day, it's a little bit too many vessels to sit and monitor that way. That is where we rely on the crew to do that. But yes, if need be, that can be set up. Where we use it is in the you could say analysis afterwards. We again, it's not obviously if there's been an incident, then you do a root cause analysis, etc. But we also with Orca, we also take it one step further back in saying, well, this was not an incident, but could it have happened, and what did we learn from that?
Yeah, great. Yarden, can you expand on that?
Yes. So in different use cases, different type of customers, they have real-time capabilities. So for example, especially actually in container ships and also LNG, for example, entering extreme weather. So if the vessel is entered the extreme weather and start pitching and rolling, and it can actually have, cargo integrity situations. So in certain cases, the operation team, if it's too extreme, they want to get real-time data to be able to know that. So let's say the vessel is now rolling 8 degrees. We can measure that with sending the data in real time to the office. And we build also capability to get access to the cameras remotely in real time. And also over VSAT, which is very, very small bandwidth. We build technology that knows how to compress data in real time. Starlink, of course, it's a complete game changer. But then all of a sudden you can see from your desktop exactly what the ship is experiencing, and then you can support it remotely. So either if it's different, changing the speed or changing the course, or talking with the charter. So in these type of situations where are usually more extreme than you see it in real time. But the main use case, I agree completely with Torsten, eventually is the after effect, is to be able to analyze a lot of data in order to be able to be proactive as a company, to be able to identify trends before something is happening. So I agree with Torsten on that.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, a question from an anonymous question, but I think useful. I mean, I don't know if you want to discuss capital requirements, probably not here. But from this system solution perspective and the specs, what's the minimum configuration that you'd be required for the Orca AI platform in terms of camera, servers, network, transmission of data, amount of independent processes that will be done on the vessel?
Yeah, so we're providing at Orca the complete solution, right? So it's including the cameras, the processing unit, the connectors to existing navigation sensors, the connectors to the communication channels. So in that terms, it's one CPOD connected to GPU, connected to the NMEA, reading the data, and then process it in real time. We can use VSAT, Starlink to upload the data.
Great, thanks. Just moving on, I see there's a question for Captain Arundella from James Warwick. Captain Arundella, in your experience, younger watchkeepers, do they prefer looking at the screen, the Orca AI dashboard, or do they prefer looking out the window?
Thank you, Rudy. Based on our practice on board, the importance on making decision is verifying the target if it's correct or a false echo from any system, not only to Orca AI. So the Orca AI enhances our visual configuration. So once we see a target in the panel, which cannot be seen by bare eyes, the Orca AI system gives us a warning. And then if we see it on the monitor, we verify it and take it bearing and also by using binoculars. So in my experience using the system, they don't rely too much on the Orca AI. They are still adapting, and it's a usual practice to verify the target manually.
Roddy,
Yeah.
I think I fully concur. That's also what with Captain Andela, that's also what we are seeing. And I think there was an earlier question also around whether people would sort of be less observant to what was going on and relying too heavily on the system. And that's where, as I said, have the safety culture embedded first, because then people understand, and the seafarers and the crew on board understand that this is an assistance and they will treat it as such. If you don't have the culture, then either it's ignored or it's used wrong.
You can't build on bad practice. You can only build on good
No.
practice.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Well, it looks like that is the end of the Q&A. So thanks for everybody for those questions. I think we can move on to wrap up basically, and I'll just ask the panel if they've got any closing comments. I mean, Colin, you first. So any key messages you'd like to communicate or reiterate?
I think the key message from me is, you know, if you're interested in using the system, or please get in contact with your usual club contact or with me, and we'll have a chat about what the NorthStandard and Orca partnership looks like, and you can, you know, you can consider your options from there.
Yeah, great. Yarden, it was kind of interesting that touching on kind of the new generation, you know, and you mentioned in your presentation about this kind of change of mindset that the industry is going through, you know, to meet the really quite serious challenges what they're facing over the next years, and the new generation ushering in this new kind of era of technology. Any closing remarks? And also, I thought it might be an opportunity for you to say just something small about, you know, Orca AI and your adventures in autonomous ships.
Of course, Roddy, thank you. So first of all, I'm excited and you know, to be in this panel next to one of the leading P&I clubs and one of the leading ship owners in the container segment, and see that, you know, the industry is actually changing. See, you know, how they're perceiving technology and how they see that, you know, it's going to change how they operate. And of course, they are leaders in their domain. But I think it's very, very important to hear this message, because to others to follow. So I think it's a very exciting time for the shipping industry to be in this position and see this transformation happening. Regarding the autonomous shipping, yeah, so we're part of a consortium in Japan developing that capabilities. We did a demonstration in 2022, very exciting first autonomous ship that was operated unmanned. When we see it from our perspective, we need to build a technology. The use cases are applied on different operations in different way. For ocean-going vessels, I see the crew being there, maybe a reduced number of crew, but it's not about creating an unmanned vessel. It's about creating an increase in the automation on board to reduce the workload and improving their capabilities. So this is going to take time, and it's not something that it's just going to happen tomorrow. It's more of a process towards the next couple of years. So also exciting avenue. And thank you, Roddy.
Thank you. Torsten, any final thoughts on the future of maritime excellence, which obviously you're trying to pursue at a Seaspan?
No, I think, as I said, there's lots more to come. We're just getting started, and there's probably, in all fairness, even more talk than there is action on it. I think, as I mentioned before, I think this is the collaboration here, or partnership between NorthStandard and Orca, that is a new way of trying to approach an issue that we are all keen to jointly improve and that's what's needed. Otherwise, we will just be regurgitating what we've done the last 2 centuries. So I'm looking very much forward to seeing what will come out of that. I think it's an innovative way of approaching maritime safety.
Tremendous, thanks, Torsten. We just had another little question drop in from Sunit Das. To you, Yarden, what's the typical range of visibility using Orca AI?
Depends on the target, but for a commercial ship, about 10, 12 nautical miles. Fishing vessel size, about 4, and a buoy about 1.5, 2 nautical miles.
Great, thanks. And just to wrap up with Captain Arundella, any final thoughts on Orca AI and maybe kind of increasing automation on board in general for you as a master?
You're muted.
You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sorry.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Rodi. So, in my experience, it greatly improves the management of the workload of my crew and also me. It greatly reduces the burden of having lookout for long time. So it improves the rest periods and compliance with the regulations about the work of seafarers. So I'm honored and I'm happy using the system.
Tremendous, thanks, Captain. I understand you're at home right now. When do you leave again for the sea?
I don't know yet. I have some arrangement here in my vacation, and I'm planning to have a vacation for a couple of months from now.
Okay, well, enjoy yourself and take time to relax. You do a fantastic job.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for your input, and apologies that I kind of turned up a bit late in the proceedings. You know, technical stuff is always like that. So that's it basically, and thanks to all the viewers for joining us, and wishing you a very good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, and have a good day. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Cheerio.
Okay, thank you.